In this video, it's the Primera. The water pump is leaking, as you can quite clearly see. That has come off quite dramatically this morning since I removed the rad cap. That's quite a bit worse than I thought it was. I'm going to do a bit of driving footage a bit later in this video, but I'm afraid I've wussed out of this job. After the pain of the Rover, I just can't be doing with another transverse engine with absolutely no access. There's the water pump all the way down there, and just trying to get to the adjuster for the power steering pump is just horrific. I can't be doing with this at the moment, especially with the stresses of everything else, the home education, which ate up several hours this morning, meant I got here fairly late. I just really, I have no appetite for this job, so I've booked it in with my friends at Madeira on Havod, and we'll let them have the fun and games. And I've also booked it in for them to do a full service, because I am getting hugely distracted. I'm not getting stuff done at the moment on the cars, and one of the reasons is there's so many cars with so many jobs needed, and I think some of you are starting to get a bit frustrated as well, because I'm just struggling to get stuff done, really struggling to get stuff done properly. So the Primera is going to stay here. I'm going to chuck some antifreeze in the rad just because the overnight temperatures are plummeting at the moment, just to protect it. But it's going to stay here until we get some better weather. But yeah, like I say, some driving footage coming up. On the Invicar, yes, you're all right. I would need to, just still up on the stands, I need to strip the rear brakes completely. I've ordered some brake spring pliers to hopefully help with that job. That's the rocker cover, by the way. The rocker cover gasket has finally arrived, so I can do something about the oil leak. But yeah, a bit cozy in here, isn't it? Yeah, Tuck is still sitting here. There's no need to rush on this, so I think I'm going to start farming out more of the work on cars such as this. Maybe the Matiz, the Charade, we'll see if finances allow. And I'm going to try and focus myself on the core members of the fleet, because to be honest, that's where my skills, if you can call them that, tend to lie. It's with the older cars. So I'm going to stick to doing that, I think, and farm out more of the day-to-day jobs. Incidentally, the Rover 75 is still here. The chap who's bought it is in Scotland, but with all the travel bans and the restrictions, he can't actually collect it at the moment. So Rita is still sat here, waiting her moment. Myrtle Matiz is kind of not being heavily used at the moment. And I think after suffering cooling woes on the Primera, I think I'm going to drive home in Ellie the 2CV, because it doesn't matter how cold it gets with Ellie, her coolant is definitely not going to freeze up. So that's all the good times, I hope. Slightly chilly in the 2CV with that air-cooled engine, but with that muff on the front, it should be all right. So the Primera will be going off next week to get the work done. We've got the Charade booked in. The Charade's at home at the moment. That's booked in for MOT this week. I don't think it's going to go well, but the question is how badly. And again, if I can afford it, I will happily pay some people who know what they're doing to try and sort that car out, because I don't really want to add an engine rebuild to the already enormous to-do list. Anyway, let's jump back in time to when I went for a nice drive in this car, and we'll talk a bit more about why I actually like this car so much. In this video, I'm introducing you more formally to my 1997 Nissan Primera P11 2-litre injection SLX. There goes the Land Rover. Without further ado, we'll jump in and go for a drive. I'm afraid I seem to have managed to leave my in-car mount at home, so that's not a great start. That's all very hub nut. So you're going to be in the head cam. So I'll try and keep my head steady and not make you too sick. I've got the fan racing away on 4. It is -1 outside at the moment. The car is telling me I can press the end of the wiper stalk, and then I get the time. Oh, I don't know what that time relates to. 1903 is not the time now. You can have 2 different times. So it's just going 1 o'clock. I need to get back home because the children are apparently in meltdown. The final week of home education before they go on half-term break. But yeah, I'll get you strapped in, I'll put you on my head, and away we shall go. There we go. Hopefully that's a good driver's view, because this car is a lot of fun to to drive, and I thought I'd talk a bit about that on this drive. So here we go. That's 60. It is a pokey old beast, this. And what also surprises is the nimbleness of the handling. I'm still finding the steering very dead, but it just handles so well. The suspension feels so accomplished, which I wasn't expecting. Bear in mind, I've owned both T12 and T72 Bluebirds, and they are not fun to drive on this road, but this car is. What really lets this car down is the enormous flat spot. The SR20 engine, very well regarded, but between 2 and about 3,500 revs, it has a major dead period. Woo! Off camber, that bend makes it feel even more fun. So this is a key bend coming down here. This one in the Bluebird, the Bluebirds wallow around it and feel generally unstable. This just feels tremendously well planted, and yeah, I really am liking this car an awful lot. But those underpinnings, the very racy nature of the car, probably helped it to win the British Touring Car Championship in 1998 and 1999. I'm going to assume it was Anthony Reid driving. I think David Leslie did some driving in Primeras as well. But I think it was the Prof, Anthony Reid, seemed to be the most at home in the Primeras. He could get some great stuff out of them. And I guess that's why. It's that multi-link suspension all round helps the car feel very, very planted. I mean, yes, it's dull as anything in here. It's just not very exciting. But wouldn't you rather have a car that delivers its excitement through the tyres rather than through the look of the interior? If you jump in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo up to, well, I think even the fairly late ones, but especially up to 5 and 6, they are dull as ditch water inside, with the most boring instrument binnacle I think I've ever seen in any car. It's exactly what you get in a cooking Colt even. So yeah, to have something that's a bit more fun is, yeah, it's good. It's good. So I am enjoying this car quite a lot. I am nervous this week. This car has a coolant leak from the water pump. This is the furthest I've driven it since getting it. I had to nip back to my old abode to grab some parts I'd mistakenly had sent to the old address. So that's why we're on these familiar roads, a road I know very well, the A4 120 between Devil's Bridge and heading down into Aberystwyth. And in fact, if I turn my head at just the right moment here, we've got, look, former AA vehicles, a Vauxhall Brava and a Land Rover 109, which I happen to know is a 6-cylinder version. I've been trying to get my hands on that for ages and I've generally not managed it. But yeah, I'm waffling a bit. The point I'm making is, yeah, this really isn't a car you can judge just by its fairly mundane looks and plasticky dashboard. It's a lot better than a lot of people realise. It was sold in the USA as the Infiniti G20, I think it was. But an interesting little nugget for you, this is a hatchback. Although I should point out, the saloons could also be specified with a rear wiper, unusually. But whereas in Japan, the saloons sold there were built in Japan, the hatchbacks were all made in the northeast of England and then imported back to Japan, which is, I think that was carried over from the Primera P10 as well. I mean, I prefer the looks of the P10, but I'm going to shut up for a moment. Oh my gosh. This is a very surprising car. I personally have written off the P11s. I was one of those who was like, oh, that car looks so dull. The P10 had a real sharpness to it. I really loved the looks of the P10. P10 Primera came out in 1990. And it was such a leap forward over the Bluebird. This car is an evolution of it, but I don't think a very successful facelift. Although the later facelift of the P11 is even less successful, I'd argue. But there's some interesting Project Drive stuff going on here. Project Drive is the project to cheapen Rovers. There's a bit of that going on here as well. That's why this SLX has winding rear windows, Whereas on a P10 Primera, the SLX was kind of fairly near the top of the range, as it was with the Bluebird. My first Bluebird was an SLX and it had everything. Yeah, this car is joyous in a way a Bluebird simply isn't. And I will concede, I've never driven a sporty Bluebird. Maybe they were better. Yeah, it's really nice. It is annoying though, it does feel like an engine you have to keep on boost. I mean, this is alright going downhill. Going uphill, you have to be a bit more chugging through the gearbox to keep the revs up and keep it in the power band. And I think that's possibly where this car has ended up being a bit too track focused, if you like, is the fact that you've got this ridiculous suspension and then you've got an engine which is really only on song up the upper end of the rev range. That's wonderful on a track, but what you want on normal roads for everyday conditions, you want the torque to be more like 2000 to 3000. Maximum torque on this engine is produced at 4,800 revs, which is insanity in a road engine. It's like the Honda VTEC engines. Huge fun, but they have to be screaming, and screaming is not what everyone wants in a road car. So it's a slightly odd choice, especially for such a family orientated car. I will talk briefly about wiper blades, because it turns out these ones aren't that bad. I think there might be some stuff under this blade, so they're not bad enough to fail an MOT. I don't like this area that's unswept here, that needs sorting out. And the rear wiper blade, which is ruined, is not a testable item in the UK. That's not part of the MOT test. See, now I've got my foot flat to the floor and the engine hasn't got any more to give because the torque, we're some way off the peak torque. That's further up the rev range, so that kind of, I end up being in a lower gear than I really want to be. Right, today is Monday the, what date is it? The 8th of February today, I think. So I'll just say that if you order something from the shop on the 5th, 6th or 7th of February, there's a pretty good chance it's in the back of the car because I forgot to go to the post office. So I'm going to go and do that on my way back. I just want to quickly address vehicle tax because this car is showing up as untaxed at the moment. I have taxed it at the post office. I did that the day I bought the car. It seems to have taken a long time for the systems to update. I've just driven past a police car and I'm quite nervous, but they don't seem to have flagged it, so I guess that's encouraging. So yeah, it's just a system fault for this stopping my car as showing as taxed. It has actually been taxed. I'm not driving it illegally. I've got the receipt in my pocket just in case I get stopped by the police in the meantime. Yeah, very relaxing car. The seats are a bit firm, I would say, but I can't really complain too much. Need to do some more long distance driving to really get a feel for them. But otherwise, I think this is going to be a good car. Just need to get that water pump changed, maybe try and sort out tensioners, find out why it squeaks on startup. It could be the drag of a slightly knackered water pump, of course. We shall see. Well, I think we'll wrap this one up there. So yeah, going great guns. I'm enjoying this car a lot. There will be much more to come in future. Farewell. See you in a future video.